Oh, what a time it was. 1913. Toronto's population and economy are growing. In New York, showbiz mogul Marcus Lowe watches Toronto's rise and sees opportunity. He buys a small frontage on Yonge Street and 8 months later opens a remarkable new entertainment complex.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Lowe's Yonge Street Winter Garden Theatres, the only stacked vaudeville house in Canada.
Torontonians had never seen anything like it. 2 lavish theaters in one building, one on top of the other. The ground floor Lowe's Yonge Street, later to be called the Elgin, was the larger of the 2, featuring gilded plaster moldings, red brocade wall coverings, and imitation marble pillars. Directly above Lowe's Yonge Street, the Winter Garden was an even more surprising creation. Designed to invoke a secret garden, it featured murals of plants and flowers, pillars that looked like tree trunks, and a ceiling covered in real beech tree branches and twinkling lanterns. Both theaters showcased the biggest stars of vaudeville and a brand new entertainment format, short silent movies. No one knew it then, but in 1913, vaudeville was dying. Silent movies were the latest thing. Then, 15 years later, talkies arrived, and vaudeville passed away forever. The Lowe's Yonge Street Theater became a full-time movie house. But the Winter Garden wasn't so lucky. By 1928, when the last vaudeville star shuffled off its stage, the Winter Garden was closed. Pigeons, raccoons, and mice took up residence. Downstairs first-run movies did a brisk business for the next 40 years.
Look who's here, look who's here, oh my.
But by the early 1970s, things had changed again. Yonge Street had become a sad and seedy neighborhood. And now the Elgin Theater was reduced to showing B-rated movies in order to survive. By 1981, it seemed like the Elgin and Winter Garden theaters were headed for the wrecking ball. But the Ontario Heritage Trust recognized the importance of the 2 theaters and stepped in and bought them. Their role is to identify, protect, promote, and conserve Ontario's heritage in all its forms, now and in the future. So, with support from all levels of government and private donors, they started making plans to renovate. Big plans. But first, a little musical came calling. They wanted to book the rundown Elgin Theater for 6 months, exactly as it was. Well, that little musical was Cats. And the 6-month run wound up lasting 2 years, thrilling over 1 million people. The Elgin Theater and the audiences were back. Imagine how the public would react when both theaters were restored to their original glory. Ontario Heritage Trust couldn't wait to get started. The Elgin had been retrofitted and its lobby refurbished in 1984, prior to the opening of Cats. But the full restoration of both theaters began in March of 1987, when the Elgin was closed to the public, and the Winter Garden was unlocked after being sealed for more than 50 years. The Elgin restoration would pose its own challenges. But the Winter Garden was virtually unchanged. A damp, sooty time capsule of the vaudeville era. Water, urban wildlife, and time had all taken a toll. So an army of restoration specialists, artisans, and volunteers set to work. First, the entire theater was cleaned from top to bottom, erasing years of grime. The cleaner of choice? Raw bread dough. It was just sticky enough to remove the dirt, but left the original hand-painted murals untouched. 20,000 square feet of Winter Garden walls were cleaned this way. The entire ceiling was dismantled, and close to 5,000 new branches of beech leaves were harvested to recreate the original ceiling. Downstairs, in the Elgin Theatre, 25 layers of paint were removed from the original walls. Opera boxes and plaster details were recreated where they'd been damaged or removed. Over 250,000 sheets of aluminum leaf were used to re-gild plaster details in the theater and outer lobby. They even used bulldozers and backhoes to excavate a new basement under the theater. In the end, it took 5 years and $29 million. But the Elgin and Winter Garden theaters were reborn. Now the last operating double-decker theaters in the world were back to their original glorious condition. Finally, on December 15th, 1989, exactly 76 years since their original opening night, the fully restored Elgin and Winter Garden theaters welcomed audiences once more. They both received standing ovations, and rightfully so. Today, the busy Elgin and Winter Garden theaters are as resplendent and impressive as they were in the early 1900s. Their gilded, leafy opulence takes us back in time, while their new spaces and modern fittings accommodate today's cutting-edge theatrical performances. Thanks to the efforts spearheaded by the Ontario Heritage Trust, the stages of the Elgin and Winter Garden are alive again. Yet no matter whose name is on the lighted marquee, the two enchanting theaters are unquestionably the stars.